We are so back. It's so exciting. So sorry for not posting for a while. If you've missed me, thank you. It's been awful not being able to post here. I feel like I've missed a close dear friend for well over a month. I've been working on a few commercial projects. I'll talk about that soon. I'm going to do so many videos moving forward. Very excited about that. But today we are breaking down how I ran a 2:32 marathon. I did not break 2:30. I did not run 2:30. Point blank, I just didn't do it. So now it's time for all the excuses. Welcome back. I'm so happy you are here. Before we get the ball rolling on all things McKirdy and this race, I just wanted to make mention that something is now available. This has been in the process for well over a year. I've been testing out socks with Outweigh over a year, probably 16 months now. They partnered with me in the Boston series last year in 2024, and now I can proudly say we have come up with my own exclusive sock with them. It comes in 3 different colors. This gold colorway ankle sock, green, like a forest green, and then a navy blue and gold as well. And what's really special about this sock is that on the foot, as you look down at it when you're wearing it, it actually says "Be About It," which is really sick. And just very excited that we brought this product to life. It is now available. It's first link in the description if you'd like to check that out. You'd like to support the channel. It's not often that this is the first time I've ever made any kind of product with any company. Honored to do it with Outweigh, and I'm excited to get something in y'all's hands. If you'd like to support the channel, what I do here, if you've been a fan for a while, I would greatly appreciate you repping these socks. It would be an honor. I think the best deal is going to be the pack of 3 there. Went with the earth tone colors, all my vibe. So I won't talk about it much anymore. There is a limited stock of them. So if you would like to grab them, I would recommend grabbing them before they run out of stock. Thank you so much for that. Now let's jump into McKirdy. I'll just start right away. Flew directly from Austin, from Athlete Week, BPN Athlete Week, straight to Newark, New Jersey. Not the best timing for this. I knew that going into this, I did not want to miss out on Athlete Week. I did have to leave Athlete Week early, which was a bummer, but wanted to do so in a reasonable amount of time so I could have a full day in New York before the actual race. So I flew in pretty late Friday night, and I landed about 10 p.m. Eastern and met Cyrus at the airport. Wild happenstance, Gary V was on my flight, if you know who he is. It was pretty weird, but kind of awesome. And then the next day, just carb loaded. Well, I carb loaded all day that day, and that's not easy to do if you know travel and carb loading. I think both days leading up to the race, I hit anywhere between 500 and 650 grams. And yeah, I didn't want to go super heavy on that, but moving forward, I want to really try to land in the 650 to 800 range. I really want to go hard on this next one. And yeah, just exciting plans for the fall race. I am running Chicago again. So yeah, there'll be another series about that. But got a rental car. We went to our hotel in the Meadowlands in New Jersey. Got to bed around 11:30 p.m. Got a full night of rest, a full 8 hours. Blackout curtains. It was a great deal. This is exactly how I hoped it would go. I was really nervous about there being delays on the flight, but there wasn't anything like that. Got that full 8 hours and took the morning super slow and planned to shake out much later in the morning in Central Park with my friends. So shaved the legs. That's how I opened the film. And I don't know. It's a totally goofy thing that I do, but at the same time, I don't know why. It just makes me feel like lighter and faster. And judge me all you want. I don't care. I have really hairy legs, so I don't know. Even just like when you have a cool race morning and I feel that extra kind of coolness. There's just something about that. I don't know if I'll do it every race, but I like it. Probably more simple carbs moving forward in a carb load. So not being afraid of trying things like Pop-Tarts and cereal and, still a fair bit of juice, but not too much juice, which I learned from Chicago is probably the wrong move. I'm definitely going to be testing it more this year. Next weekend, I'm going to be pacing my friends Scotty and Chris Sadler over at Bayshore Marathon. try to hang on to 6 flat mile pace for 20 miles. We'll see what happens. But in instances like this, I want to really beef up the carb load and see how that works on sort of this training run. You know, I don't expect to run the whole race full out. My goal is just to get to the 20-mile mark. So treating it like a long run workout. And I'll also be running Grandma's in June, and I'm still not decided on if I'm going to race it or pace someone. If I do race it, it's going to be more of a conservative approach with a negative split. It would be the goal. I'm almost kind of leaning more towards that now. Sorry, Grant. I don't want to get your hopes up too much that I'll be pacing you, but we'll see. Packed up that morning, drove to Manhattan. Vibes at all-time high. Cyrus had never seen Times Square, so I had to drive through Times Square to show him that. Found parking close to Central Park pretty easily. Guess there's a congestion fee in Manhattan now, which I didn't know about. Got a bill later. That's super fun. But yeah, it wasn't super packed, which was great. Found a nice parking spot. And, you know, I really, day before race, try to stay off my feet as much as possible. Only did a 2-mile shakeout. Didn't even include strides. I had some calf soreness leading into this race. So wanted to just take it super, super chill. And did my shakeout with Kenny, Tommy, Avery, and Alex. Had met Avery and Alex for the first time that morning, but I've been longtime internet friends with Kenny and Tommy, so it's great to get some miles in with them. And yeah, my ankle wasn't feeling 100% either with my tendonitis, so it's a lot of just those taper crazies. Didn't want to risk anything, so just took it super chill. We ran both those miles about 8:30 mile pace. This has become kind of a staple. I go to Panera for lunch day before race, and good carb heavy pre-race lunch, and got the bacon turkey Bravo and a baguette. Started driving to White Plains, which is where we needed to do bottle drop off and bib pickup for McKirdy. Hotel for the bottle drop off was actually the hotel we were staying at. I did not plan that. I got an email later saying that's where it would be. I was like, oh man, that's absolutely perfect. That's more reason to stay off my legs for the rest of the day. And Sonesta in White Plains is a gorgeous hotel. I loved staying there. The whole experience was incredible. Didn't go to the lake to scope out the course. I normally would, but again, I valued having more time just being off my feet and resting with all the travel that had been going down. Wanted to be really disciplined with that. I felt like staying off of my feet and keeping the stress level down was going to be more beneficial than seeing what the lake and what the loop looked like. I'm really happy with that decision because it's basically exactly what I expected it to be once we raced it. I only had 6,843 steps on Friday, which is a new record for me on day before race, and I want that to be the case moving forward, which is sad. Like, I don't think I will do a day before shakeout run in Chicago moving forward as I'm approaching these PR times, but it could be a Friday shakeout run 2 days before. And I want to incorporate more like summer events in Chicago. I'd love to schedule some more group runs. So if you are local to Chicago, be on the lookout for that. Make sure to follow on Instagram and Strava to keep updated on those things. But, you know, as we got to the hotel, we settled in. I started prepping all of my bottles. McKirdy, this race at this point, allowed 8 bottles on course. I didn't feel like I needed 8, so I only did 6. And my plan was to do a combination of gels and bottles. So I had 3 Go gels with water. So it was 48 grams of carbs and 220 milligrams of sodium per bottle. So basically what I did was I dumped 2 Go gels into the water to get to that 48 gram mark. And I didn't really train with this. It was something somebody suggested late. And I felt like G1M the entire time was going to bother me. So I went with this tactic. I tried it a few times pre-race and went with that. And then the other bottles had G1M Sport. 3 scoops in 20 ounces was the ratio. I normally do 2 scoops in 20 ounces. I did 3 to load it a bit more. So each bottle had 24 grams of carbs and 420 milligrams of sodium. So the difference of the bottles was that the Go Gel one was carb heavy and less sodium. And then the G1M Sport one was less carbs and more sodium. So there was no particular order that they could guarantee that the bottles would go. So I knew that I would still have access to all 6 of them throughout the race though. So I was going to plan accordingly. If I got a G1M bottle, I would take a gel on that lap to account for the carbs and just kind of play that game as I go. Maybe not the best strategy, but I also had 3 Go gels on me. And yeah, felt like that was a good enough plan. I don't think it ended up being a good enough plan. probably should have dialed that in a bit more. If you saw one of the last episodes, I was going bottle crazy, trying to figure out what it was. And I think what I ended up realizing is that I don't like fueling marathons with liquid. That's what it is at the end of the day. I'm actually going to go into Bayshore and Grandma's without carrying my handheld in the race and relying on water and electrolyte drink on the course and packing a ton of gels on me. Moving forward, I want to just be slamming Mango Go gels in the race. And by the way, in all this fueling, if you want 10% off any BPN products, you can always grab 10% off with my last name, Floberg, at checkout. That supports me, supports the channel, what I do. But just so you know that, so you're not paying anything full price. That's what I want to do moving forward is try to, I don't know, maybe get in 8 Go gels in a marathon. And quick math, that would be close to 200 grams of carbs throughout the entire race if I did that, and that would be closer to the 75 gram an hour mark. Bottle drop-off was amazing. McKirdy is incredibly well run. Shout out to Heather and James, who sat at the tables for bottle drop-off, and they were race directors and just were so kind and brought so much energy. And, they let me know that they had been following along with my series and were excited to have us there. And it was just honestly really heartwarming, especially the embrace that I had with them post-race. And I just felt a ton of love from them, a ton of support. Just great people. Love the running world for this reason. If someone's willing to make a race like this, you got to imagine they love the sport, and they love this sport, and it's so cool to witness. So after we dropped off those bottles, we put, the stickers on the bottles, dropped them in the correct bags, felt good about that. We just chilled. Did my lay flat, had the Adios Pro 4 as the race shoe. Love that shoe. Will I use it moving forward? I will, probably at either Bayshore or Grandma's. Love it. Again, I'm not someone that cares that much about what race shoe is like. Tempted to get another pair of those or go back to the original Saucony Elite. I would love to get another fresh pair of those, not necessarily the Elite 2s. I feel like those may be too squishy, but I know, I digress. And so we did that lay flat, laid everything out, and did the interview for the race film, which is something we hadn't done before and was really cool to just parcel out all those ideas and thoughts pre-race. And really thankful for Cyrus helping me do that. We had an Italian dinner with pasta and pizza. First time doing pizza before a race. Absolutely loved it. Shout out to Haftu Cheney, who raced the next day in the elite race and ate 3 slices of pizza before his morning race and then ran a 2:09. Absolutely epic. I took some Peak Sleep gummies. Last bit of organizing, we watched King of Moab, which was awesome. Shout out to Max. Gotta go watch that film, King of Moab. It's on YouTube, 50 minutes long. Watch it on a treadmill run, carve out some time. It's making me want to go for an ultra. I was in bed by 9 o'clock. I got 5 hours and 59 minutes of sleep night before the race, which is incredible. I know a lot of people only get 3 to 4 hours. I'm super happy with 6 there. And put on my Be About It socks. The gold ones is what I wore in this one. Waking up at 4:30. I had 2 Go bars and 2 scoops of G&M Sport Orange. Orange is my favorite flavor now, and 20 ounces of water. So sipped on that throughout the morning, all the way up until about half an hour before the race. So even through the drive, it's a flawless morning. Cup of coffee before we left. Did my business at the hotel. Did my business in a porta potty as soon as we got there. It's only a 20-minute drive from Sonesta White Plains to Rockland Lake State Park, which is gorgeous. I love this park. There's like a mountain. I don't know if you'd call it a mountain, but definitely an aggressive hill on one side of the lake. And it's just, I don't know, really cinematic and beautiful. Just made the race film really cool. And everybody just, like, the energy was crazy as we're pulling up. There's cars with headlights and you see people jogging and warming up. And the energy was just, it was palpable in a completely different way. I've never, at least in recent years, done a peak race that's this small. So it was really cool to have access like so close to the start line and the energy of only about 150 to 200 runners, but high energy, because the race is called Breaking 3. So there were so many people trying to break 3 hours that day. And there was a small group of us, I'd say maybe about 40 runners trying to go 250 or faster, maybe 50 runners. And yeah, everyone was already warming up. Clark and I got a little over a mile in before a race. I forgot to take my gel 30 minutes prior is what I usually do. So I took one about 5 minutes before the start, leaving 2 on me. That's what I wish. I wish I had more reserve gels on me, because what I realized very early in the race is that liquids were going to be sort of a problem for me in this race. And it all happened like super fast. We were like on the start line before I knew it. And there was a sub 230 pacer in this race. And it's the fastest pacer I've ever seen in a marathon race. I don't really know if they go much faster than this anywhere else, maybe Valencia or somewhere like that. But Clark and 2 other runners went out in the front, and then a dozen or so, I'd say probably more towards 8 of us, packed up in that 230 pack. So gun goes off, good temps at the beginning. I think it was about 54 degrees, but it was low humidity, so it felt cool. And that turned very quickly, as I'll get into, but the first mile was definitely hot. It didn't say it in my data, but I remember looking down, because every single mile is marked on this course with a little stick and paper on the side of the road or on the side of the path. And I remember looking at my watch as we passed that first one, and we were at about 5:35. When I really wanted to be targeting 5:45 for the first mile, because 5:43 is the average mile you need for a 2:30 flat marathon, or just under. And so it was a bit aggressive, and I was thinking that. I'm like, well, I don't want to lose this pack. And that's the constant struggle you find yourself in races like this, where you're like, do I stay with a pack that's going a bit too hot for me, or do I run it's easier in a bigger race, because there's usually a pack you could then latch onto that's going a bit slower. But if there's only 8 of us, that early in the race, you're like, okay, I'm just going to go with them and see how this goes. And then the first lap was definitely hot. I wrote all of my splits on my arm, and it wasn't 5K splits. They were very specific splits, because the first lap, it starts about 800 meters in front of the finish line, and it's a 2.94 mile loop. So the first lap was actually 2.65 miles. And the time I needed for they had a perfect 230 pace chart. They even had it blown up on the side of the course, which was incredible, at the finish line. I wrote all those splits on my arm. So my first split was supposed to be 15:11, and we went through in 14:50. So we went through 21 seconds fast. I went through that fast. I was actually already back behind the group at that point, as you might have seen in the race film. It was just too hot. And they still were pretty aggressive on that second lap, and then it seemed like they finally started to slow a bit. But I knew that being that aggressive, being under 5:40 a mile, was going to make me absolutely blow up in the second half. I didn't think I was that fit, and especially looking at the weather, knowing that it was going to warm up, just immediately wanted to be more conservative in the best way possible, teaming up with Troy then. So Troy and I had talked pre-race about racing together. His PR was a 2:31, and he really wanted to get to 2:30 or break 2:30 that day. And so we were just trying to be smart with that. I just kept telling him, like, we don't need to be aggressive. Let's stick back here. Let's work together. And that's where, so actually the pacer slowed after the first lap. We caught back up. I downed my whole first bottle I got the Go Gel bottle first, and I downed the entire thing. And I downed it pretty quickly. And I already felt nauseous. Like, I straight up just, if I am going to take bottles like this, I need to be okay with not drinking the whole thing. I think that's kind of my curse, is that I feel like I have to down the entire thing just to get all those carbs. And while I might have gotten 48 grams in that one bottle, I already felt pretty uneasy. So did that, was fine after a mile after consuming that. And the second lap was right on pace, still 20 seconds fast going through the finish line again. And we started trailing that lead group at that point. Strategized with Troy, decided to work together instead of chasing that 230 pack. We eased into the pace a bit and ended up running the next laps about 3 to 5 seconds slower than lap pace, getting us closer to target pace on every lap since we were 20 seconds ahead. And we split up the work. So I would run half of the loop, which is a near 3-mile loop, a near 5K loop. I would run half, and then Troy would switch with me. He would lead and I would chase. And every half lap, we would just switch the lead and share that load, which was incredible and really helped the mental game, especially in a race like this where it feels like Groundhog's Day over and over, running the same loop. Another guy packed up with us and he sat behind us. I didn't ask him his name. I regret that. I was just so focused in on the race, and I heard him behind us. So Troy and I kept switching the lead, and he just stayed as the third position in that group for probably about 2 full laps. But the backside of the lake had a noticeable headwind, and it wasn't super aggressive. It was maybe 10 to 15 mile an hour headwind. But yeah, that stuff obviously can mess with you. I think what was difficult about that is when the sun came up, which it did about after 3 laps, there was shade on that side of the course, on the far side, on the opposite side of the finish line, but there was a headwind. And then that turned into a tailwind on the other side, but then you were in full sun and the heat, so you didn't have any cooling effect. So it was kind of this mental battle of both sides being like, okay, this side is cooler, so that feels better, but I'm battling a headwind, and then I'm baking in the sun on the other side, and it feels just like there's no movement at all. So if those were reversed, I think it would be much easier psychologically, where you get in the cool and you have a tailwind, and then at least having some sort of cooling effect in the heat on the other side. This is just me being nitpicky, though. You know, it's like, all right, whatever, dude, just run. But I don't remember perfectly what I took in my next bottles, but I believe I took the Go Gels that were on me because I knew I didn't want liquid again. So I think I skipped a bottle on the second and third lap and took my Go Gels instead, lap 2 and 3. And every bottle I took, I didn't grab one every single lap. I probably grabbed the next one on lap 4. I downed maybe 1/3 to 1/2 of each. So max, I was probably getting 20 grams of carb per bottle. So that ultimately leads me to believe I was underfueled during the race, but I was really worried about puking and slowing down from puking. So it was just that balance. And I think I really just need to force myself to fuel more. And that's why I want to go with Go Gels. Like the Mango Go Gel just goes down so easy for me, even if I am nauseous. So, and that's just who I am. I inevitably will feel and be nauseous in marathon races. That's just my exercise-induced nausea that I've self-prescribed. I've always dealt with it. I want to try that strategy and then force myself to really get the carbs in. With a heavier carb load and getting more carbs in race, I'm convinced that I will perform better moving forward. And so what I really need to do is train that heavily. So through this summer and fall, I am going to be slamming gels, probably carrying my bottle less or carrying water in my handheld during training, and slamming Mango Go Gels just all the time to prep myself for what that's going to feel like in race, and to be able to consume 24 grams of carbs every 3 miles, every 5K, every 20 to 30 minutes. I feel like I haven't been dialing that enough in on the training side, and I need to train my gut to be able to handle that. So it feels normal and regular as I'm racing. So I started losing Troy on lap 6. There were 9 laps total. He started to gap me. It was my turn to take the lead, and I just really couldn't catch him. And that's when I heard the guy behind us, the third guy, stop and throw up. So I knew I knew I was going to be alone from there. And that was a third of the race that I knew I'd be alone. As all these things were colliding with the heat coming on, feeling fatigued, feeling underfueled, no longer, I'm just alone. So I started to slow. Lap 7 was still right around pace, but I could feel myself fading, especially with the heat coming on. And I know I don't do well in heat. So that was a psychological game. I had to start playing with myself. The temperature at the race finish was 63 degrees, which is 17 Celsius, with a real feel of 70 Fahrenheit and 21 Celsius, and full sun when we were in it. Was the temperature the only reason I faded? No, I don't think so. Like I said, I think I was underfueled, and running alone, I'm convinced, I know, allows you to fade more than you're realizing. If you're not paying attention to the pacing, or you don't have somebody locked into doing that, you feel like you're still going the same speed, but you're not, because you are fading. It's a bummer, because, you check in at a certain point, you're like, oh man, that's so much slower. And you try to push, but you're just at that place where it's like, if I push, I'm going to blow up, and it turns into that game. What am I going to risk? What is the risk reward? If I push now, does that mean I'm going to be walking later? So it just turned into survival, just get the PR. At that point, I wasn't looking at time at all. Jeff started yelling at me on that sun-filled side, and Kenny was encouraging me, running alongside me, but I was just in a full fog. Like, I could hear them, but I just was eyes on the path, just one step in front of the other. I couldn't give anything back to them. I wish I could. I wish I could have been like, yeah, yelling back, but I just had nothing in me, because I have to remind myself, being over a month removed from the race, that those last 2 laps were the hardest physical feat I've ever done. I'm just going to go ahead and say that. They were the most grueling 6 miles of running I've ever experienced. I'm very confident in saying that. I wrote that down to make sure that I said it. Weirdly enough, when you experience those things, that's why I like writing that stuff down and committing it to memory, because now I'm like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And I know a lot of people can relate to that in the moment you're like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. And it makes sense. It's the fastest I've ever run a marathon. So that makes sense that it was the hardest thing I've ever done. The last 6 miles and 10K of that race, having run the first 20 miles faster than I ever have. I ultimately think that's what the part that keeps us coming back to the marathon, which is really cool. I think that, that stereotype that a lot of us have, that in the moment, it's the worst. You have feelings of like, I never want to do this again, ever. Why do I put myself through this? Why do I choose to do this to myself? Why do I choose to suffer this way? And then you're a certain amount of time removed from it, and you're thinking, I can't wait to do that again. If you've been following along with Truett Haynes, he's been racing a marathon virtually every weekend or every other weekend and PRing like crazy. And that phrase, it's just pain, is legendary. I've been doing it in some workouts recently, just repeating that over and over. It's just pain. It's just pain. Just keep going. It's just pain. Has been really, really helpful. Shout out Truett. You're a legend. You're doing some really, really cool things. Now, yeah, I'm more excited than ever to now chase the 230, chase the sub 230. And I want to train like an absolute freak this summer to be able to experience that pain again and, do it all over. And, I'm going to feel terrible in the moment when I race again in the fall, but it is what it is. Jeff was insane with his hype on that last lap. That was the Instagram reel that I put out, that a lot of people resonated with, and put it in the race film. And shout out Jeff, you're an absolute legend. Just gotta, for 1 second, just thank Jeff for all of his help in this training series and the 2 prior, Boston, Chicago into McKirdy. It's so fun to be able to bounce ideas off of you, for you to trust me and my desires for what I want in this sport and racing this. He's an incredible coach, guys. He's so unbelievably passionate about this sport. And it was so unique and fun to experience his energy in that way, even though I was on death's doorstep. Yeah, Kenny followed right after he did that and helped me through that last sunny stretch. And once I was past that part, I knew I could hang on mentally and on fumes for the last 2.5 miles. It was just, I love the last rep of a workout, the last lap of a race like this, where you're just like, all I'm doing now is, there's no cyclical behavior anymore. There's no repetition. It's from here to the finish is all I have left. Every single step I take is the last time I'm passing any of these things. So that's what makes that compounding effect of every step matter that much more to me in those moments. And I have to say thank you for all the people that showed up on the course and for your support. It was unbelievable energy and people coming out and filming, and even just specifically coming out to say hi to me and film my race and experience that and say hi to me post race, thank you so much for being there. It got me super emotional. I'm forgetting your name. I'm sorry, but there was a dad there with 2 kids, and it was just unbelievably special to see that. I got to give a shout out to Cyrus and Christina, who offered her time free of charge just to come and shoot on the same rig that Cyrus has, an FX3, and absolutely crushed coverage for the race film and made it essentially what it is. So thank you, Christina, for being there. Thank you, Cyrus, for being a ride or die and always helping me with these race films and series. Thank you so much for your support online, for gassing me up leading into this marathon, and all of the love and support online in and around the race, and all my posts. It doesn't go unnoticed. So thank you guys so much for being here. This race literally felt like the most support I've ever received, and it wasn't a major marathon, which was really interesting to feel, and I thought that was very special. But lastly, I just, as always, want to thank my family, my wife Sabria, supporting me in these pursuits, in these efforts, and my kids allowing me to train in this way, and because they're the reason I'm able to do this stuff. Yeah, so I brought it home. My last few miles, I think, were around 6:10 to 6:15. Faded even more than I did in Chicago the past fall. And yeah, that proved how much I was fried at the end of this race, but still came in with a 1:15 PR with a 2:32:44, and was insanely proud of that. Definitely grinded my gears a bit that I didn't break 2:32, because that's what I wanted to do last fall. It just feels like it keeps slowing down, like the progression slows down, and yet I am still progressing. So I have to be kind to myself, but I also want to use that pissed off energy to keep improving. And I think that's a really healthy balance, and a great balance for me. Some questions I have for myself that I'd like to answer. Was the training I did enough? Maybe not. What I want to do moving forward, and this is kind of the pretext of what to expect for this summer and fall, I want to train like I've never trained before the summer of 2025. And that's going to be adapting a lot of things. And I haven't decided what I want the series to be called, because everybody calls it Dialed. But that's the mentality, and that's going to be the thesis, if you will, of the series, is that I want to lock everything in and use it as a science experiment to see if the outcome is reflecting changing all of these things. First, I think I need more mileage. I want to target more of the 100-mile week method. As I see people like Jake Bearclough, if you watch Ran to Japan, shout out Jake. He's inspiring a lot of people to do that now. I just talked with Joran Windblad on his podcast, and he is a PT, physical therapist, and he mentioned that that attitude and that mentality will not work for 98 to 99% of people who are runners, because it will end in injury. But I do feel, and hopefully this doesn't come across as too self-aggrandizing or narcissistic, but I do feel like I am in that 1% of people who do volume over 2,000 miles, over 3,500 kilometers a year. This year will be, hopefully, Lord willing, 3,000 plus miles. I do think I have the ability to get to that mark because of all the foundation building I have on my legs, my cartilage, my joints, my muscles can handle that mileage because of the work I've put in over the past 2 to 3 years. So that's what I want to approach. It's not just a silly effort of going from 30 miles a week regularly all the way up to 100. I think that's unsafe, and that will land you injured. So that's what I want to do. More strength, conditioning, and mobility, not just getting into the gym 2 to 3 times a week with isolated single leg work, or the exercises I was doing in this build, which I only got in the gym maybe 8 to 10 times. I do want to be getting in the gym probably 3 times a week, but I also need to be working on my mobility. I'm the most inflexible person on the planet. My wife just got her yoga certification. This is in part why this breakdown video is coming out so late, because I've just been solo with the kids a whole lot. She finishes that this week. Stoked for her. It's gonna be awesome seeing her teach. She might start a YouTube channel. More on that soon. But I need to take lessons from her. She plans on actually putting me through some yoga classes, and I want to start getting into a mobility routine to
I don't know, just give my body more flexibility so I'm not so stiff all the time. And with that as well, 1 to 2 days of plyometric work as well. Explosive single leg, plyometric, hop, skip, jump sort of stuff to work on explosiveness, more fast twitch muscle fibers, and getting more speed work done this summer, like I did last summer, to do more of that periodization, to get my neuromuscular stimulation, if you will, then to progress to be faster at shorter distances so that faster speeds at longer distances later feel more economical. That was a word salad. Sorry. Much better eating. I need to cut out sugar. I just want no sugar. Outside of obviously fueling with carbs, I mean like processed sugar. That is my kryptonite. Candy at night, sweet treat. Yeah, just need to cut it out. Want to cut it out, and it will be getting cut out. And then sleep was actually phenomenal in this block. I was getting usually 7 to 8 hours a night, and so I will keep targeting that. And I really just want to be militant about it to prove to myself that I can be disciplined to do that and see what the adaptations are like. I want to feel strong everywhere, not just for running. I want to do upper body in the gym too. I want to feel comprehensively strong. I want to feel very fit. I want to toe the line in Chicago in the fall, feeling like I am the fittest I've ever been. I'm the strongest I've ever been, being more of a freak than I've ever been, if that makes sense. So I think that's everything for the McKirdy race breakdown and what's happening with me. The next few videos, hope you guys are getting back into your training, not feeling the marathon blues too much post spring race, but that you're getting back into it, maybe getting into a shorter speed cycle to race a mile or a 5K or something shorter than the marathon. And yeah, please let me know in the comments if you have any questions regarding McKirdy or what you're excited about moving forward for the summer and fall. Let's keep a conversation going down there. I'll try to respond to as many things as I can. And till the next time, be about it, and I'll catch you on more training. Peace.